He wears time on his wrist like a king wears a crown, not just any watch, but rare pieces that most collectors will never even see behind museum glass. Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't glance at cheap dials. He glances at diamond-studded Rolexes, custom Frank Muller's worth over $1 million each, and limited edition Jacob & Co. watches that tick in silence as if guarding his every heartbeat. His watches aren't just watches, they're trophies strapped to the same wrist that has lifted the Champions League, the Euro Cup, the Ballon d'Or, over and over again. But the watches are only the beginning. Parked inside garages in hidden corners of Europe are beasts of metal and carbon fiber. Cars so expensive, they look unreal even when the engine roars to life. His Bugatti Chiron alone could buy a neighborhood, its horses harnessed for one man's thrill. A Rolls-Royce Cullinan for royal arrivals. A Lamborghini Aventador for nights when the streets need to know who just passed through. And when the ground isn't enough, his private jet waits, engines humming like a predator in a cage. His Gulfstream G650 isn't just a plane, it's a fortress in the clouds. White leather seats, gold trimmings, a bed softer than any five-star hotel suite. He doesn't stand in airport lines. He doesn't wait for boarding calls. He crosses oceans in silence. His children asleep in the next cabin. His mind always calculating the next deal, the next record to break, the next kingdom to conquer. Cristiano Ronaldo's collection isn't only metal and leather, it's proof that nothing is out of reach when you bend the world to your will. Villas hidden behind marble gates in Madrid, luxury apartments in Lisbon's tallest towers, an entire floor in Dubai's Burj Khalifa that stares down at billionaires like ants. And when he tires of land and sky, he sails. His yachts glide over the Mediterranean, the sun bouncing off polished decks where he stands shirtless, a living statue of what the human body can become when sculpted by obsession. Yet for all the gold and glitter, for every engine that purrs in his name, there is something raw that lurks in the way he looks at it all, a hunger that luxury hasn't tamed, a restlessness money hasn't cured. Every diamond on his wrist, every stitched leather seat, every polished hood ornament is a reminder of where he came from and of the truth that no amount of wealth can truly bury the boy from Madeira who once played barefoot on cracked streets. People think they know him because they see the shine. They see the Instagram posts, the perfect family portraits, the $1 million smile that sells everything from shampoo to sports drinks. But what they don't see is what it costs to live at the top. They don't see the deals made in boardrooms behind locked doors, the contracts thicker than holy books, the sleepless nights when betrayal feels closer than friendship. Every car, every watch, every jet is a shield armor against a world that wants to see him fall just to say it was inevitable. But Ronaldo knows better. He knows nothing is inevitable, except the work he puts in when no one is watching. At 5 a.m. when the world sleeps, his day begins. No excuse. No mercy. The same man who can drop millions on a single timepiece doesn't waste a second of the time. He actually owns the seconds that have bought him empires, lifted him above Messi, above LeBron, above Tiger Woods, the richest athlete alive, by sweat and sacrifice alone. People whisper that he's cold, that money has turned his heart to stone, but they forget, or maybe they never knew, that this life was never handed to him. He didn't inherit mansions. He built them, brick by invisible brick, fueled by nights when dinner was nothing but air and dreams. Now he dines in private, with chefs flown in from Tokyo, Paris, New York, plates of precision and luxury he barely tastes because the only hunger that matters lives in his chest, gnawing at him to stay ahead, stay feared, stay worshipped. His children sleep in silk sheets while bodyguards pace the shadows. Georgina poses beside him, draped in brands that beg for his name, but the real empire lives behind his eyes, a mind calculating every move, every headline, every betrayal before it strikes. The same feet that tear down defenders on the pitch also walk marble hallways where deals worth hundreds of millions are signed in rooms few will ever see. The world thinks luxury has softened him, that the gold has dulled his edge. They are wrong. If anything, every new car in his fleet, every fresh diamond on his wrist, every private jet that lifts him higher reminds him that the only way to stay on the throne is to never stop climbing. He owns time, he owns speed, he owns the sky, but more than anything, he owns the fear in the eyes of those who thought they could catch up. And yet, late at night, when the engines go silent and the trophies gather dust, a question lingers like a shadow at his door. How much is enough? How far must a man run before he admits he's tired? For Ronaldo, the answer has always been the same. Far enough to make sure no one ever forgets his name. And no one ever catches him. He moves through airports that don't exist on public maps. A ghost in designer sunglasses, a legend hidden behind black-tinted SUVs that slip past cameras, waiting for a glimpse they'll never truly get. The world wants to believe they know him. The smile for a child's autograph. The casual wave to fans screaming from barricades, but these moments are flickers, carefully placed sparks in a storm he controls. Behind the perfect photo, there's always a contract waiting to be signed, a figure in a tailored suit calculating what his name is worth this week, this month, this season. Every handshake is a chess move. Every brand that kisses his feet knows the cost, not just in millions, but in obedience to the image he's carved out of granite. His cars may roar, but Ronaldo's empire hums in silence, a network of lawyers, managers, secretaries, and shadows who protect every penny, every headline, every fragile piece of perfection that sells him to the world. Sometimes people ask, why keep playing? Why not hang up the boots and vanish into a palace by the sea? Let the sun melt the tension from shoulders that have carried whole nations. The truth is simple, because for Cristiano Ronaldo, the game is not just 90 minutes on green grass, the game is everything. The money, the watches, the jets, these are trophies just like the Ballon d'Ors in glass cases. Proof that the kid who once heard his father cough behind a bar counter now owns time itself. And yet, if you listen closely, there's a restlessness that echoes in the halls of his mansions. Late at night, when the cameras are off and Georgie drifts to sleep beside him, there are moments when his eyes stay open, staring at ceilings taller than the houses he grew up in. What more can be conquered? Who else can be beaten? He flips through memories like pages in a secret diary. The coaches who doubted him. The teammates who whispered envy. The scandals that tried to pin him down. They all failed. He survived. Them all. Because survival is wired into his blood, just like ambition. When he flies, he doesn't just cross borders, he crosses decades from the barefoot boy on Madeira's cracked streets to the man who can shut down an entire hotel floor because privacy, now, is worth more than gold. He's not just a footballer, he's a living brand, an idea too big to kill. Billboards don't fade when he retires. They multiply. His face, his abs, his perfect smile, they'll keep selling dreams long after he's gone. Frozen in high definition for generations who'll only know him from highlight reels and myth. Some nights, on his yacht drifting somewhere between Monaco and Ibiza, he watches his children sleep and wonders what kind of world he's built for them. A world where they'll never know the taste of stale bread. Never hear their mothers sigh when there's no money for the bus. Never feel the burn of a cheap ball on bare feet. They'll inherit everything, but will they inherit the fire? The savage hunger that turned a boy into a king? This question eats at him more than any tax scandal or missed penalty. He has friends, or so they say. Other superstars drift in and out of his orbit. Actors, billionaires, oil princes, men who understand the weight of too much money, too much fame. They drink rare whiskey on decks polished like mirrors, laugh about yachts and jets and clubs that shut their doors to mere mortals. But when the music dies, each one slips back into his own golden prison, a cage with velvet walls, where the only guard is the voice whispering that all this could vanish if you slip, even once. And so, Ronaldo doesn't slip, not when he trains, not when he negotiates, not when he stands half-naked under blinding lights, muscles carved by hours no one else wants to live. The photos on Instagram, the family, the watches, the cars, the grinning sponsors, they're all chapters of a book he edits daily, ruthlessly. So the ending never changes. Cristiano Ronaldo wins. It's easy to envy him, to point at the diamond watches and say if I had his life, I'd never worry again. But envy is blind to the shadows that live behind his gates. The stalkers who threaten his children. The tabloids that hunt his past like wolves sniffing for weakness. The fake friends who share drinks on Saturday and sell stories on Sunday. The lawsuits that slither under doorways and gold envelopes, signed by men who smile to your face and bury knives in your back. So every morning, before the world wakes up, before Georgina checks her phone for the day's gossip, before the chefs wheel in silver trays of protein and vitamins, he stands alone in his private gym, facing himself. No cameras, no fans. Just sweat, breath, pain. The same rituals that kept him alive when he was nobody keep him immortal now that he's everybody. He'll push until something breaks, and even then, he'll find a way to rebuild it stronger, because Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't believe in enough. Enough is for mortals. Enough is for men who've forgotten how it feels to be hungry. When the training is done, when the interviews are staged, when the plane doors close and the sky swallows him whole. He sits by the window and watches clouds drift like ghosts. He thinks of records yet to break, money yet to earn, empires yet to build. He thinks of his son, who wears his name like an heir to a kingdom he didn't ask for. He wonders if the boy will carry the crown or run from its weight. And somewhere in that thought, a fear flickers, the only fear that money can't kill. If he stops, will he still matter? If he stops, will the world still chant his name? If he stops, will he finally hear his own thoughts? The ones he's buried under golden muscle and roaring engines. Maybe, but stopping has never been an option. Stopping is the only luxury he cannot afford. He lands in cities that hush the moment his wheels touch the runway. In Turin, in Riyadh, in Lisbon, the world rearranges itself when Cristiano Ronaldo decides to set foot on its soil. Hotel managers whisper orders through earpieces. Entire top floors are cleared. Security details multiply like shadows at dusk. A fleet of black cars slides from nowhere, engines idling, doors opening only when he decides it's time to move. The crowd might see a man stepping into the night wrapped in designer cloth. A watch worth a mansion glinting under streetlights. But the truth is, he doesn't really walk among them. He floats through a reality most people can't imagine. A bubble of control and suspicion and ritual that keeps the chaos at bay. Yet inside that bubble, there's no silence. His phone vibrates with more than just sponsorships and contract deals. It's a line into a world that won't stop pulling at him. Governments that want his face for their soft power games. Billionaires who want him at their gala tables. Brands desperate to borrow his shine for one more quarter of profit. Sometimes he answers. Sometimes he doesn't. Because for all the talk about control, some parts of his life drift far beyond it. He knows it, so he builds walls thicker than any fortress. NDAs signed in backed rooms, friendships purchased with loyalty clauses, secrets buried under non-existent names and offshore vaults. And the world. The world applauds. They don't want his truth. They want the legend. They want the Instagram moment. The perfect family framed on a beach in Dubai. A birthday cake bigger than some people's kitchens. A yacht decked with balloons floating off the Amalfi Coast. They double tap, they comment, they share. And in return, they expect him to stay the way he's always been. Ageless, perfect, endlessly hungry for more. But behind the mirrored sunglasses and that carefully measured smile, the boy from Madeira sometimes leaks through. When the cameras blink off, when the kids run barefoot through hallways longer than his childhood street, when Georgina catches him staring out a window for just a beat too long, that's when the old hunger flickers, back tinged with something else now, a fear he doesn't say aloud. A question he never dares to ask in front of anyone but himself. He thinks about what it all means. What happens to a man who built a kingdom out of sweat and fame when time finally wins? Because even the best watches, the ones that cost more than a house, can't slow down what ticks inside his chest. He feels it sometimes in the echo of his knees after a hard tackle. In the way his breath catches a split second later than it used to. In the headlines. That whisper, how much longer? While pretending to praise him, he's built an empire bigger than football. CR7 is on shoes, hotels, gyms, fragrances, supplements, underwear, sunglasses, each letter worth millions. Each logo stamped on a world that might not even care about goals or assists in 10 years. He knows this. He made it this way on purpose, so that when his boots hang silent in a glass case, the money doesn't stop flowing, the legacy doesn't stop printing headlines. But will it be enough? Enough to outlive the loneliness that creeps in when the crowd's roar fades. Enough to keep his name on everyone's tongue when a new boy rises. Faster, younger, hungrier. He's seen it happen to giants before him. Men who ruled stadiums. Then vanished into desperate endorsements and reality shows when the world shrugged them off. He swore that would never be him. He trained harder. He woke up earlier. He played smarter. He made his name too big to bury. And yet, deep down, he knows that time is the only rival no contract can buy off, so he keeps buying time in other ways. New cars arrive like trophies for a battle only he understands. Another Bugatti, another Ferrari, another Rolls-Royce with a roof so soft you could mistake it for clouds. He slips his wrist into new watches, each one louder. More diamond-studded than the last. Each tick reminding him he's still here. Still the king. Still the man they can't look away from. Sometimes he opens vaults that only he can enter. Inside, behind coated doors and velvet covers, lie his real treasures: medals, letters from kings and presidents, signed shirts that remind him who he broke, who he beat, who still says his name with bitterness when the cameras are gone. He stands there alone sometimes, touching the fabric, letting old adrenaline spark through his veins like it did when the stadium lights hit his face for the first time. Does Georgina know he does this? Maybe. Maybe she pretends not to see the shadows he drags behind him at 3 a.m. when sleep won't come. Maybe she knows and doesn't care. Because she, too, is part of the empire now. Her name stitched into headlines that used to belong only to him, her face as much a brand as his muscles, her smile another piece of the fortress. Some say she loves him for him. Some say she loves him for the world he built around her. Maybe it's both, or maybe it doesn't matter. Not when they sit together on a yacht's deck, watching a sunset most people will never see without a postcard. He's tried to plan for everything. The academies he funds, the CR7 gyms, the hotels with his initials carved into marble lobbies, all pieces on a chessboard meant to outlast his boots. But legacy is a tricky beast. Money flows, fame fades, and somewhere, some boy is already running barefoot down an alley in Brazil or Nigeria or a village whose name the world doesn't know yet. A boy who dreams of being bigger than Ronaldo, who repeats his moves in the dark with a ball no one will ever autograph. That boy is coming. He knows it, and if he were honest, he'd admit it. Thrills him because Ronaldo never feared competition. He feared boredom. The silence that comes when there's nothing left to chase, no record left to break. So he keeps the engines warm, the jet fueled, the boots ready. He smiles for photos, lifts his children for the camera, signs another deal that makes rich men richer just to be near him, and then he goes back to work, in the dark, alone, where his real wealth waits. Sweat, pain, discipline, the grind. That built everything the world worships and secretly resents. He tells himself he will know when it's time to stop. But inside, a voice mocks him. You'll never stop because what happens to a king when he steps off the throne? When the lights die, when the crowds stop chanting his name. Maybe that's why he buys more cars than he can drive, more watches than he can wear, more jets than he can fly in a month, because as long as he's moving, they can't bury him under the word was. And so the man who owns time still runs from it. Not on cracked streets in Madeira anymore, but on manicured lawns, in glass gyms, at dawn, inside vaults filled with trophies that whisper his name like ghosts. The cars wait. The watches tick. The jets idle on runways that shine under moonlight. And somewhere out there, a billion people scroll past his face, double tap, and dream that if they had what he has, they'd never fear anything again. But only, he knows the truth, the luxury, the gold. The roar of engines at midnight, it's all armor for a boy who decided long ago that no hunger is ever enough. And maybe that's the secret he'll take to the grave, that for Cristiano Ronaldo, the most expensive thing he ever bought was the right to never stop being hungry.